First up, number 21, Zamir White. We're actually all pretty similar here. Dylan and I both have him at 22. I feel like no matter what, I've agreed with one or the other of you on every single one of these running backs. It feels like I have either the same one as Kai or Dylan every time. Dylan and I both have him at 22. Kai is at 21. 17 games played last year. Granted, as a backup. He was a backup running back last year. 104 carries for 451 yards and a touchdown. Also had 15 catches for 98 yards. I personally really like Zamir White this season. I don't feel ultra confident about it. If it was a dynasty thing, I wouldn't say rush out and get Zamir White because he's going to be a starting running back for several years down the road. I could see this only being, even if he does good, I could see him being a one and done after this year as being like at least the sole starter. But with that being said, for redraft league, I think Zamir White's going to be very good this year. I think he has a lot of touchdown value. I'm not sure about the reception game. I think Amir Abdullah is going to get some work in the reception game. I mean, like he had 15 catches for 98 yards last year, so it's like he got some of it. I just don't see it happening like a lot this year.
Yeah.
But I think Zamir White's going to get a lot of the workload, and I think he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. So like I would take Zamir White in a heartbeat at the right spot for me personally. Kai, how do you feel about Zamir White?
Yeah, I like him a lot. I saw enough from the footage that we got of him last year. I liked what I saw, and I think a full season under his belt will do him some good. So I also love where you can get him right now at average draft position, early 10th round. And then I personally think that his like ceiling this season, he could be like RB2 style numbers. Right now, I think he's like RB3/flex kind of play. So I like exactly where you can get Zamir White at. And yeah, you're not going to draft this guy for the pass catching value because like you said, they have Amir Abdullah there. And they also have that guy that they drafted, Dylan Laub, who I'm pretty big on. He's like a Danny Woodhead style type of running back.
I don't see him getting a lot of work starting off, though. Unless he just like shines in training camp and preseason. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of work, at least in the first half of the year, if at all.
Yeah.
I like Zamir White. I think he's a really good runner. And I think that the way that the Raiders offense is kind of changing. I mean, they're handing it over to Gardner Minshew now. So I believe he could be competent in an offense, and you can get a decent production out of your offense with Gardner Minshew at the helm. So who knows? A lot of stuff's going to be different in Vegas this year. And I don't think Zamir White has that much like competition for carries. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. Like you might even see his receiving game get an uptick as well. We don't know what it's going to look like. So if he's there in the 10th round in your fantasy draft, dude, I don't see how you don't take him unless you're already stacked at running back and looking somewhere else. But this guy's like a high upside flyer.
Yeah.
In the 10th round for sure.
There is a chance that Aiden O'Connell wins that. From everything I'm hearing about the Raiders camp is that it is a true quarterback controversy. I don't think Aiden O'Connell is very good, and I think Gardner Minshew is pretty solid. So I don't expect O'Connell to beat out Minshew, but weirder things have happened in a quarterback quarterback competition. Mm-hmm. So it is possible that AOC is the quarterback. I don't know if that really matters all that much for Zamir White. I don't know. I feel like maybe you would see more stacked boxes if AOC was the quarterback, but then again, maybe he would improve in the offseason. I'm just not that big of an AOC fan, but I just want to throw that out there just in case that matters to anybody. Next up, Raheem Mostert. He's number 22 for us. Keep in mind, he was the number 5 running back in fantasy last season. I have him at 17. Kai has him at 25. Dylan has him at 27. Why do you guys hate Raheem Mostert, number 5 running back in fantasy last year, so much?
I don't hate Raheem Mostert. I'm expecting...
The numbers tell a different story, Kai.
I'm expecting regression just out of principle because 18 touchdowns is not... You can't keep that going every single year. And also, on top of that, in the event that Devon Achane actually pans out and plays 14 games to a full season, Raheem Mostert is going to go down a little bit here.
Yeah, and they also drafted that guy, Jalen Wright. And he's extremely fast and he's extremely athletic. Touchdown regression is going to come down. I mean, there is going to be a regression in the touchdown. So, like, he's not going to get over 200 carries again, I don't think. I mean, that would be... If they all stay healthy, if all the running backs stay healthy, I don't think Raheem Mostert copies his season and pastes it into this one. So, I definitely think he's going to get a lot of his work stolen by some of the younger guys. And there has to be. He's like 32.
You have to remember, though, he doesn't have.
He's a young 32, though.
Yeah, he hasn't actually played that much in his career, so.
Yeah, he's injury prone too. Like has nagging injuries.
15 games last year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
I just feel like I agree with your guys' arguments that obviously touchdown regression is going to happen. He's not getting 21 touchdowns again. Is not going to happen. But to go from number 5 to 27 because he's going to have a few less touchdowns probably. Like, what if Devon Achane gets hurt? He's pretty injury prone from what we've seen too. Every year that Raheem Mostert has actually gotten work, he's done very well. And last year, people thought he was going to regress as well because he was getting older. And guess what? He probably had his best season as a professional. So I don't think he's going to have a better season ever again. Like, I don't think he's going to have as good of a season as he did last year ever again. But I do think he's a good player, and I think he's going to have another good year. And I think we're like a year away from Jalen Wright being like a true dude that is like really going to hurt, like cut into Achane and Mostert. Like, I fully expect that to happen. I think Jalen Wright's good from what I've seen. I just don't know. I don't think it's – I think he'll get some run, just not enough to, like, really break into Mostert. That's why I have Mostert at 17. I don't have him any higher than that because I agree with you guys. I think touchdown regression is going to happen. And I like Devon Achane more. He's just younger and more promising. So I had Achane at, like, I don't know, 9 or 10 or something like that, or 11. But I still like Mostert a lot. I think Miami's offense is good enough for both of those guys to get run and to perform really well. So – I don't know. We're kind of all over the board here.
Who cares? It's a good one. It's a good one. This is like one of those guys I thought I should rank higher, but I'm like, actually, I'm not going to bank on last year so much. It's a little bit of an anomalous season for Raheem Mostert as well. So, but I could definitely see him finishing like where you ranked him at 17.
I mean, I could see him finishing in 20. Like if Achane just takes over the job too. I mean, there's a scenario. There's scenarios where a lot of things could happen with Mostert. I tend to like him more than you guys, apparently, though. Next up, oops, clicked on the wrong thing. Ramondre Stevenson, Las Vegas legend. Ramondre Stevenson. We all are on the same page with him. Apparently, Dylan and I both have him at 23. Kai has him at 22. He's our 23rd ranked running back in 12 games played last year. He had 156 carries for 619 yards and 4 touchdowns, 38 catches, 238 yards. A very disappointing season for Ramondre, but he was also playing on a horrible offense. Mm-hmm. Will the offense be better this year? I really don't know. I don't know. Do you guys expect it to be better? Ramondre is a weird one. I don't think I'm targeting him everywhere, like anywhere. I don't think I will try to draft Ramondre Stevenson personally. I don't know. How do you guys feel about him?
I am on the exact same boat with you. Yeah, there's just so much uncertainty for me to be certain of where I would draft him, or even if I would draft him. So, yeah, I don't know.
The way you use the English language is like beautiful music.
I kind of like Ramondre Stevenson as a player. He's exactly what you want in a fantasy running back. Like the dude can run power. He's a goal line threat. You know what I mean? He's a home run threat.
Pass catcher
He's a
too.
Receiving threat. Yeah, like he's got all of the weapons that you would want, but just didn't produce. And I think that is from, like you said, being in that offense. But that's why I have him ranked here in my like fringe RB2, RB3 guy. Depends on how this really goes, but you're hoping that he could be rosterable in fantasy football as like a flex. And the upside is like he can get back to those RB2 numbers. So another guy like late in the draft, if you're looking for a little like hit or miss on running back, this could be your guy.
Yeah, I think you're drafting him mainly just for upside purposes because like if he hits, he's going to hit probably because we know he has the talent.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just so not sure if that offense is like it's such a low bar to clear, so you assume it will be better one way or the other. But like at the same time, they don't have a whole lot of talent on that team offensively. Like we don't know anything about Drake May. Sure, Jacoby Brissett could come in and maybe at least Jacoby Brissett, the offense will be better with him. than it was last year for sure. I still don't know if it'll be good, but it will be better than last year. If it's Drake May, though, we don't know. It could be way better. It could be just a little better. It could be worse. We have just no idea. You look at the receivers, there's really nobody that just, like pops off the page to you, really, right? Like I like Pop Douglas a lot. There's a couple, like Kendrick Bourne's not bad either. There's a couple guys that are fine, but not enough that would make you go, this offense is for sure going to be better. So does that mean Ramondre Stevens is going to be better? I really don't know. And he didn't do good last year. I don't know. This is just somebody I'm just staying away from unless he falls to me in the right round.
I'll tell you what, I don't think I would waste an 8th round pick on him, but if he did fall to like the 11th or the 12th, then why not,
Which
the likelihood of him falling that far is probably not good, but you never know. I just feel like there's always going to be somebody that is willing to take a chance on Ramondre Stevenson in your league. Even if it's only one person, I think there will always be someone that will be willing to draft him in that like 8th round or whatever. So next up, 24, DeAndre Swift. Kai and I have him at 27. Dylan has him at 18. He's up to 24. So I'm going to start off here. I like DeAndre Swift more than Ramondre Stevenson, personally, as a player. But DeAndre Swift's situation is just a little weird to me. So, like, they have Khalil Herbert still, right? They still have Roshan Johnson. They have someone else, too. Is it Homer? Travis Homer? Is he still there?
Those are the two guys.
Whatever. Yeah. So it's Khalil Herbert and it's Roshan Johnson. I just don't know how that's going to shake out. Roshan Johnson, he had flashes. There's also points where he didn't look all that good. Khalil Herbert, I think, is pretty solid, but also they didn't give him a whole lot of carry. Like, I feel like every single game, it was like they each have 8 carries, with all three. Obviously, Deontay Foreman instead of DeAndre Swift last year. But it's just like everybody had like the same amount of 8, 9, 7, 10 carries, where it's just like not enough to like know anything about any of those players. So honestly, Roshan Johnson or Khalil Herbert could be really good and could eat into DeAndre Swift's work. And we've seen how coaches treat DeAndre Swift in the past. Like, Dan Campbell, they just didn't really give him any runs. So I don't know. Do I trust Eberflus to give him 25 carries a game? I don't think so. So that's kind of why I have him so low personally. As a player, I love DeAndre Swift. I just don't know if I like the situation. I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Kai first, since he has him as low as I do, and then we'll give him to Dylan. So Kai, why do you have him at 27?
Yeah, so basically everything you said about the running back room, that's a lot of uncertainty there for me to want to draft him in the 9th round. Also, the thing is, too, now they have Caleb Williams, and they have a lot of good wide receivers, and then you have Cole Kmet at tight end. There's just a lot of cooks in that kitchen in the Chicago offense. Like, that's probably a sentence you'd probably never hear normally. But... yeah, that's basically my reasoning. Yeah, it's just we don't know what the offense is going to look like. Is it going to be more pass heavy? Is it going to be run heavy? Is it going to be 1 or 2 running backs getting most of the load, or is it going to be 3? Just a lot of uncertainty.
Dylan, why do you like DeAndre Swift so much?
Let him cook.
Somebody's going to let him cook eventually, right? We talked about it last year. It's like DeAndre Swift had those games with the Eagles where you felt like the offense was a little bit better. Whenever they facilitated the offense through DeAndre Swift. And now I feel like they bring him into Chicago, and they have Khalil Herbert, never really had eye-popping numbers. Roshan Johnson is very young, didn't really have eye-popping numbers. So you maybe bring in like a running back you believe can play 60% of the snaps, get 60% of the carries. Maybe you bring him in because you want him to be the guy that can beat out everybody else. Whenever it comes to that. And plus, I see him getting a lot of receiving work as well. That's one thing that's been coming out of the Bears organization recently, is that DeAndre Swift is going to be heavily involved in passing formations. So
that's good.
He's going to be on the field during the passing downs. He's going to bring that a little athleticism. Young quarterbacks like to check it down. So, when that play breaks down, who's going to be Caleb Williams' best friend? It's going to be Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift. Those are going to be the guys that kind of get that runoff of that offense. So I just see him this high just because, like, this might be the least amount of competition he's had for carries in the NFL so far.
Over the Eagles last year? Who else was on the Eagles last year?
Jalen Hurts.
Oh, okay. I thought you just meant in the running back room in general.
No, what I'm saying is
Boston
like
Scott.
he was taking high value carries at the goal line,
Gotcha.
from running back. So like he has had to compete with that. He had to compete in Detroit as well. So who knows, dude? I just think that this guy is definitely the most athletic running back in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
And if he gets 200 carries and 60 targets in the season, I want to see exactly what he does with that. I'll take a flyer on him.
Okay.
This guy, I would rather take him in the 9th round than the last two guys we've talked about, I think.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Like, I'm taking him over Zamir White. I'm taking him over probably Ramondre and some of the guys behind him as well. So,
Okay.
Here's some stats for you. DeAndre Swift, 229 carries for 1,049 yards last year, 5 touchdowns. Khalil Herbert last year, 132 carries for 611 yards and 2 touchdowns. Roshan Johnson, 81 carries, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns.
yeah, he outpaced both of them.
If you had to pick one of those guys that you think is going to be like the RB2, who would you pick? Like, who would be the handcuff to DeAndre Swift?
Herbert.
I'm saying it's probably going to be Roshan Johnson.
I would do Roshan as well. Yeah.
I think Roshan Johnson has more of the skill set of the 3-down back. Like, he can pass protect. He's a good receiver. He can run up the middle. Khalil Herbert is a very very poor man's Nick Chubb type of running back. He is a ground and pound. He doesn't get a lot of work through the air. Like, that is your pure running back.
Wow.
So,
I actually thought Khalil Herbert got more through the air than he actually does. He really doesn't. He only has 2 career receiving touchdowns. Last year, he had 20 catches for 134 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I think Roshan Johnson just has more potential. I mean, you could flip a coin. Who knows? Because I don't think Khalil Herbert's a bad player or anything like that. So I think he could easily win the RB2 job if Roshan's kind of disappointing. But if I had to take a chance, I would say Roshan personally.
Roshan's a thumper, dude. Roshan's going to be that change of pace back that can come and smash up the middle, dude, because he did have some very tough runs last year where he was smoking some people up the middle. So the Bears probably want to bring that physicality to the offense a little bit more.
All right. Next up, Brian Robinson Jr. 25 for me in DP, 24 for Kai. He's 25 overall. Last season, he had 178 carries for 733 yards and 5 touchdowns, 36 catches for 368 yards and 4 touchdowns. I thought he was a very solid fantasy player last year. Mm-hmm. I think if Austin Eckler was not on this team, I think he would probably be like a top 15 running back for me, personally. I think there's still a chance that he could be that high if something happens with Eckler, if he looks old, if he gets injured again, if he's just straight up disappointing, and maybe if they don't use him the way that we think that they're going to use Austin Eckler. I think Brian Robinson could be really good. I think he could be good even if Austin Eckler is good. I want to see how they use Eckler first before I go all in on Brian Robinson. I have him in my back pocket though. Like once I see some stuff out of training camp or something like that, if I see Brian Robinson getting like 80% snaps or something like that, I'm pressing the button. I'm going back all in. I really like this kid's talent a lot. I just think that Austin Eckler is probably still good and like better than a lot of people are giving him credit for right now. And I think he's going to cut into Brian Robinson, unfortunately. With that being said, I still think Brian Robinson is very usable this season in redraft.
Yeah. I mean, even just for the average draft position, you can get him at too. I mean, I kind of like that price a lot for Brian Robinson. It's a very high upside play too. There's every avenue of possibility what happens between him and Eckler. You know, like I kind of like what you said. I think they can actually both coexist and actually both be really good.
I think they play just differently enough that I think they could complement each other very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they could be on the field at the same time too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like they can have Austin Eckler, they could have a little split back in the shotgun. And then, you have 2 different styles of running back that you got to prepare for at the same time. So, and it's really shocking to me is Brian Robinson's receiving numbers from last year. That's much higher than you would have thought they would be going into last year.
Give them to me.
And yeah, so I expect his carries to go over 200 this year. I think everybody should have that marker for him is around 200 carries. If he can, keep that 1,000 yards a season, bring those touchdowns up, I could definitely see him. It's finishing in the top 15, especially if Austin Eckler doesn't necessarily pan out the way they want him to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, I was just looking at his stats. His receiving stats last year, 36 catches, 368 yards, 4 touchdowns. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good for a guy that wasn't necessarily looked at as a receiving threat, as a running back.
Next up, number 26, Tony Pollard. DP and I have him at 24. Kai has him at 28. He's 26 overall. 17 games played last season. He had 252 carries for 1,005 yards and 6 touchdowns, 55 catches for 311 yards, 0 touchdowns. I would say overall a little disappointing season from Tony Pollard last year. With that being said, he was still like usable. It was just mainly he just didn't have that many touchdowns. Just 6 touchdowns total. I think a lot of people expected that to be a little bit higher. And the Cowboys also just, I don't know, I don't want to blame them for it because I think they used him well enough, but I don't think they used him in a way that a lot of people expected them to. I mean, 252 carries is still pretty decent, but like, I don't know. I think overall people just expecting more out of Tony Pollard. Yeah. And if you're expecting more again, I don't think you're going to get that out of him. If you're expecting just like a usable running back that you can like use on your bench and fill in for like bye weeks, I think he could be that for you. It's just, is he going to be better than Tajay Spears? I don't know the answer to that question. Do you guys think he will be? Would you draft him, or would you wait a couple rounds and draft Tajay instead?
Yeah, that's it. I've been going over that in my head too, and I mean, recently I did my first mock yesterday too, and I kind of fell into that situation where I could draft Tony Pollard, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I do have him ranked a lot lower, but he is one of those guys that I could like talk myself into ranking higher. Like that's just like what Tony Pollard is. Like there's just so much potential with what he can do. We didn't necessarily see it last year, but there's a chance we could see it this year, and that's good enough for me to maybe take a chance on him.
I could see it. I mean, like, he's going to obviously probably at best have a 50-50 split with Tajay Spears, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really depends on if you cut his work necessarily kind of in half. Maybe he's more efficient. Maybe he's not as tired. Maybe you're not asking him to run, 12 times a game up the middle, which I don't think Tony Pollard is built for. He's more of like your elusive, like kind of like press the edge kind of back,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the Cowboys kind of overused him last year, which diluted his production because he's not, at his best when it's time to hit the home run. He's tired. So I look for him to have probably about the same season, top 20 running back, top 25 running back, but him and Tajay Spears are probably going to have a battle for that ball.
Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen too in Tennessee. There's a lot of names there to give the ball to, so I don't know. It's kind of like a wait and see on Tony Pollard. Next up, this one's crazy. This one we're all over the place on. Number 27, Jaylen Warren. Kai has him at 19. Dylan has him at 26. I have him at 38.
Why do you have him ranked so low, Brian?
I know.
Because I think Najee's going to get a lot of work, and I also think Najee came on very strong at the end of the year. I think it's going to just be a true 50-50 again. I think Najee's going to get like 18 to 20 touches a game, no matter what, even if he's really bad. And even if he's really good, I think he's going to get the same amount of touches every game. And I think Jaylen Warren will probably, get work too. But I think it's going to be the same exact situation kind of as it was last year. Granted, Jaylen Warren was like number 22 running back in fantasy. But I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I want my 19th running back to be a guy that I think is going to be a backup running back on that team. And I don't even know if that offense is that good either. So,
that is kind of high, Kai.
I'm really high on him. I'm calling my shot this year. Jaylen Warren, he's the better player in every single way than Najee Harris. I mean, look at the receptions last year, 61 receptions. Granted, he got no touchdowns, but also that's because Steelers are one of the worst offenses in the league last year. Kenny Pickett could never get him down the field.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 61 receptions. Like if he's getting that kind of workload again, I'm expecting all those touchdown numbers to kind of go up. Yeah, I think this is the year that the Steelers like finally realize they're like, okay, this Jaylen Warren guy needs to get the ball a lot more. He's like the most efficient running back on this roster by a lot.
That doesn't sound like the Steelers.
I'm just calling my shot. I think Jaylen Warren's going to have the big year finally.
But By the way, Najee Harris's last 3 games last season: 19 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown. 27 carries, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. 26 carries, 112 yards, 1 touchdown.
That's Najee Harris's numbers.
In the last 3 games of the season last year,
He's
yeah.
a very inefficient runner.
Those were his
running back, dude.
Those were his 3 highest carry totals of the season, by the way. 19, 27, and 26.
Well, I still think that if you're talking about this guy who pretty much was the number 22 running back in fantasy last year without breaking 150 carries, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? I think he's going to have just about the same kind of year he had last year. I think it really depends on, I guess, the play calling and who they feel more comfortable with. But if we're talking about like playmaking ability and efficiency, I'd say Jaylen Warren is your home run threat guy on that offense at the running back position. I don't see Najee Harris with the ability to break off like a 40-yard, screen pass, which is what Warren can do. And he's fast and he's strong, but I can kind of see where each of us are ranking him, like how we project it. But I don't think you can keep Jaylen Warren off the field enough to put him almost unranked on this list.
Also, that's fair enough. I imagine I'm probably too low and Kai's probably too high and Dylan's probably at the correct spot. But I just think Najee's going to get more work personally. I'm not saying Najee's a better player. I just think that the Steelers think that he's a better player.
Also, just one more thing. I mean, like 61 catches without a touchdown. That just can't happen again. So that's also...
It could. It could.
It definitely could, dude. It definitely could. And I think this, like, the
very unlikely, though. Very
How many touchdowns are the Steelers going to score?
I think a lot more this year than last year. And that's a very low bar.
Kai, your ranking, I think your ranking kind of projects like if Justin Fields starts more games than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I'm calling my shot. I love the talent. I think he's better than Najee in every facet of the game.
Jaylen Warren got double-digit carries 5 times last year. Najee Harris got double-digit carries 15 times last year.
Yeah, he's a volume runner.
Well, when you give him volume, that should work out then, right?
He probably got like 250 carries.
Najee, he got 255.
That's not bad.
And 29 catches. Jaylen Warren got
149 and 61.
149 and 61. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't hate the take that Jaylen Warren's better than Najee Harris. I'm not saying that. I just think that the Steelers are going to use Najee Harris more. That's the only reason I like that. So I would not be shocked if I'm very incorrect. I'm not going to die on the sword on this take at all or anything like that. That's just how I saw it personally. If Najee hadn't had that strong of a last month of the year last year, I'd probably be right there with you, Kai, personally. I just think that he had such a nice last few games of the year that it kind of flipped my script on Najee. Next up, number 28, Austin Eckler. Actually, let me write down this here real quick. Austin Eckler. Why don't you guys talk about Austin Eckler real quick? Dylan, why do you like Austin Eckler so much? Do you like Austin Eckler?
I like Austin Eckler, and this is like one of those guys that we look back on these preseason rankings and one of them's totally wrong. It's probably going to be Austin Eckler.
Yeah, you're probably right. We all had him at 29, though.
We all had him at 29, but like if you're going to tell me he's going to finish, like if someone told me right now Austin Eckler finishes the number 7 running back in fantasy this year, I'd be like, well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But if someone also said he finished number 26 again, I'd be like, well, it just proved he fell off, He just fell off. That's what happens. But the way I'm looking at it right now is I think Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler are probably going to be the 2 running backs that eat into each other's fantasy value the most across all of fantasy football. Like, that's just like, there's very little skill. Like they're very close in skill. They play very differently. So one way or another, I think that like Brian Robinson's carries will go up, but his receptions will probably go down. And same with this. Like Austin Eckler might flirt with 100 carries this year, but he's going to be on the field,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll probably get near 50 to 60 receptions again. So I just don't see it shaking out where either one of them finish in the top like 20.
You're right. There really is no shocking outcome for Austin Eckler. Like if he was a top 10 running back, you're like, well, yeah, we knew Austin Eckler was really good. Of course. Yeah. He's just back. He just had a down year last year. And if he's bad, you're like, well, it's just done. And if he's mid, it's like, oh, well, Brian Robinson's there. So they just, they ate into their value. And there's nothing. It's just, do you believe in Eckler or not? Do you think he's toast or not? If you think he's toast, don't draft him. If you think he's still got some left in the tank, which I kind of do, take him. I would take Austin Eckler. I would give him the last try. Oh yeah,
dude.
Oh yeah.
If I'm drafting in the 11th round in a PPR league in fantasy football and Austin Eckler staring me straight in the face, it's gonna be the fastest draft pick I've ever made in my entire life.
I think maybe not at the start of the season, but by the end of the season, I think that Washington offense is going to be pretty solid. I think if Jaden Daniels can get it clicking, I think that offense is going to be moving. I think there's going to be enough production to go around to a lot of guys there. Dotson, McLaurin, everybody, honestly.
He's looked really, really good in training camp from what I hear too. But yeah,
I mean, it's just going to trickle down to everybody else, the running backs, receivers, tight ends. Yeah, go ahead, guys. Sorry.
I was going to say, like, this is probably out of like a lot of the running backs in this pool that we have here. I think this is like the most proceed with caution type of pick here. I mean, like this has like the highest range of outcomes of what could happen. Like you guys were saying, like he could have a vintage Austin Eckler season, or it could go really, really bad. But I think for the ADP that you can get him at, I think you should just take a chance on him and just see what happens.
I definitely see him going higher than the 11th round.
Yeah, someone's going to take a chance on him for sure.
Yeah, I can see that too. Next up, Najee Harris. Already kind of talked about him a little bit. I have him at 26. Dylan has him at 28. Kai has him at 34.
Yeah, that's just a result of me ranking Jaylen Warren a lot higher.
So let me just compare it with Warren. So I have Harris 12 spots higher than Warren. Kai has Warren 15 spots higher than Harris, and Dylan has Warren 2 spots higher of Harris. So I'm way in on Harris. Kai's way in on Warren, and Dylan is very just like 50-50 on the two of them. Yeah. Yeah. So we're all over the place here. Yeah, so I guess we'll start with Kai then. Why do you like Jaylen Warren so much? I guess we kind of already talked about this. Do you have any more points that you want to talk about on the Harris side of it than overall than Warren?
I mean, he's just not a spectacular running back. It's just like he just gets the volume, and eventually, like sometimes he'll break off like a lucky 20-yard run here and there. Buoy his stats a little bit. He will get into the end zone at times, but other than that, yeah, there's just nothing spectacular about him. He has no PPR value.
None, dude. Well, with the receptions, he might do 29 catches for 170 yards. That's falling backwards on most of your fucking catches, dude.
Yeah.
Like
he's just not spectacular. That's all it is for me. Jaylen Warren is spectacular.
Dude, first of all,
spectacular.
No,
Jaylen Warren is spectacular.
Dude, yeah, I don't want to.
What a take! Hold on. You get a turkey for that one. That was a raging take right there. I like Jaylen Warren. I don't know if I would call him spectacular. That was a little wild. Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he's dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic. All right. Do anybody else have anything else about Najee, or did we already go over everything?
No, that's it.
Next up, Zach Moss. I'm going to start off by saying I think Zach Moss is going to go up for me as the offseason continues.
Me too. I was going to say the same.
The more and more I've thought about Zach Moss, the more and more I like him in Cincinnati. I have him at 28. Kai has him at 26. Dylan has him at 34 for a 30 overall. Last year in 14 games played, he had 183 carries for 794 yards and 5 touchdowns. 27 catches for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. Basically, he had like 5 awesome games for the Colts. And he got injured for a little bit. Jonathan Taylor then came back and just basically shut down all of his production. They just kind of stopped giving Zach Moss the ball, if I remember correctly. But in those few games, all of a sudden we're like, oh man, is Zach Moss like good now? I think he might be. And now he's on a really good team too, a really good situation. And I saw a video going around. either this morning or last night too of Zach Moss just pass protecting. And I didn't realize Zach Moss is a very, very good pass protector. So you couple that in with, I mean, sure, Chase Brown is an okay running back too. I wouldn't say that he has like a ton of competition there. Chase Brown will get some work. I kind of think Zach Moss is going to have a really good year on a really good team. And I expect him to go up in my rankings. Like, yeah. I think a lot, personally. Kai, how do you feel about Zach Moss?
Everything that you just said, I completely agree with. However, with Chase Brown, he's not really going to steal carries from him. Chase Brown is more of like your PPR pass catching back, which actually works out well too, because Zach Moss really isn't that type of running back. Although we did see some flashes last year. I mean, 27 receptions is a lot for Zach Moss. But yeah, no, I love the landing spot so much. Like, I honestly see the ceiling here for Zach Moss. He could easily be like RB2 style type of player. Like, I could see him exactly matching Joe Mixon's like running production on the ground, not through the air though.
Yeah.
Dylan, you're a little bit lower than us. Yeah, how do you feel about him?
I feel good about Zach Moss. I definitely think he'll probably have like an RB2, RB3 finish. I do definitely think that although he's shown flashes, I don't think he's good enough to maybe hold down a backfield for the whole year. We forget that all these guys are in the NFL or NFL players for a reason. And you know what? It takes a hot hand here or there to take the ball out of some guys' hands. Plus, I think the Bengals are going to be a very high-volume passing attack this year. So they might have a lot of cooks in the kitchen at the running back room. Might be a revolving door due to all the different shifting formations and stuff like that. We'll see how it goes, though. I don't know if they're going to be like centered around Zach Moss, you know?
Not a whole lot of big names in that backfield. Well, it's Moss, it's Brown, it's Travion Williams, it's Chris Evans, Captain America. So I don't know. I long term, like, I wouldn't go trade for Zach Moss in my dynasty league or anything like that. I don't think he's going to be a long term answer there. I do think he's going to have a really good season this year. Let me just give you his good games last year. Week 2 in Houston, 18 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown for 20 points. Week 3 against Baltimore, 22 points, 30 carries, 122 yards. He also had a receiving touchdown that game. Week 5 against Tennessee, 33 points. He had 23 carries for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. Week 6 against Jacksonville, 18 points. He had 7 carries, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Then he had 6 catches for 38 yards. And he had 14 points against the Saints in Week 8, 66 yards and a touchdown on 11 carries. So, like, I think he's capable of being a starting running back on a good team for one season. I would absolutely take a chance on Zach Moss.
Yep.
All right. Next up, and if the Bengals realize how good he is at pass protection, which I assume they will, he probably will be on the field like quite often, even on like running downs and passing downs. Like, Zach Moss should get a lot of usage.
Maybe.
Tajay Spears next up, our 31st running back. Dylan has him at 30. Kai has him at 31. I have him at 32. Kind of went over a little bit with Tony Pollard. It's basically, who do you like more between these two? I mean, I think down the road, Tajay Spears, I think, will be a better running back. I don't know who's going to get more work this year. I kind of expect it to be a true 50-50. So I don't know. I like Tajay Spears as a talent, though.
They're very similar players too. Their play styles are both like very good runners on the ground, very good with their hands in pass catching roles. You know, so it's exactly which one do you like more. I'm gonna go. Even though I rank Tony Pollard higher, I really do think there's a chance that Tajay Spears breaks out this year, like kind of like a Rachaad White style breakout.
Oh wow! Okay, I like that.
There's a very good chance that both of these guys flirt with 200 carries this year. Spears and Pollard. They're both pretty efficient on the ground. It's going to really come down to who can eat in the pass game the most. And I kind of like Tony Pollard when it comes to that. He's a little bit more of a more explosive playmaker. But I kind of give the edge to Tajay on the ground. I would give him like the majority of the carries, and he'll probably get a lot of goal line work just because he is more physical of a runner, in my opinion.
I like that.
Yeah, if Tajay Spears is going way later than Tony Pollard, I would just wait and take Spears personally instead of using a higher draft pick on Tony Pollard because I think it is a true 50-50 coin flip who has the better season. I really don't know. I think Pollard's probably safer, but I would probably just wait and just take like 13th round Tajay Spears. I'd rather do that than go a few rounds higher for Tony Pollard personally. Next up, Devin Singletary is our number 32.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why does he have 2 footballs in that picture?
Is this the one I found?
He just has
didn't even notice that.
I didn't notice that either, to be fair, when I found the picture.
I mean, it's an AI generated photo, so
Yeah, that's like that's the new type of football right there, dude.
He has 2 footballs and he has a 9 on his helmet instead of the New York Giants symbol. So AI has no idea what the hell it was doing.
Yeah.
The 2 football thing's hysterical. I did not notice that at all. I and I even talked about this picture like last week. We were like talking about the AI generated and how weird it looks. I didn't notice the footballs at fuck at all. Hilarious. I didn't want to give any more analysis. I think we got Devin Singletary down pat. Yeah, that's no, I'm just kidding. I have a 31, Kai 30, Dylan 33. Yeah, I mean he's the starting running back for an NFL team. Yep. That's about it. He's about the most unspectacular running back in the league, probably. But with that being said, he had a good season last year for Houston. He had a good year last year.
Not bad. Yeah.
The Giants are a worse team and a worse situation than Houston was.
Yes.
Does he have who else is there? Does he have like a Dameon Pierce in the backfield there? Like a Dameon Pierce style competition there?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't remember who else is on the Giants. Oh, it's Tyrone Tracy, Eric Gray. So not really.
Yeah.
So he might get like the majority of the workload. So I don't know. Do you trust the Giants offense enough for Devin Singletary to be a good fantasy player getting like most of the work?
I mean,
no.
I'm not going to go out of my way to draft him in a redraft league, but
I'm going to go out of my way not to draft him.
I'm going to say this. I think if you go 0 running back, I think Devin Singletary would be an interesting pick late. If you just load up on wide receivers early, I think Devin Singletary would be worth the risk in that situation. Now, if you already have like
RB2
or RB3, it doesn't have to be your starter, but like if he is going to get all the work, and like I know the Giants' offense sucks, but if he is going to get all the work, it might not matter how bad they are.
He'll get 75% of the work in New York, probably like 60 to 75%.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how much they trust like Tyrone Tracy. So I don't. How many carries does Tyrone Tracy have in his career? Is he a rookie?
He's the rookie they drafted.
Yeah, so I don't know. Do they trust the rookie?
No, I think this is a guy that you have on your bench going into the season, and you kind of pray that you're able to drop him or never play him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but he's still there. He's still there, and he's going to be playing for a team, so he might flirt with your starting lineup once in a while.
Last year, week 10 on, all right? Week 10, he had 23 points. Week 11, 19, 13, 5, 12, 21, 9, 11, 13. Pretty solid.
Not bad for an RB2 for sure.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Javonte Williams. This is hilarious to me because I don't like Javonte Williams at all, and I'm the highest on him. So I guess this is a podcast for not a Javonte Williams podcast. I have him at 30. DP has him at 32. Kai has him at 39. I don't know. I don't know. Kai, let's start with you, I guess. Why do you hate Javonte Williams so much?
Why do you have to say I hate him? I don't hate him, but it's just
you have him at 39, dude. You hate him. Tell me why.
It's just, he just didn't look like himself again last season after the injury, and you know they drafted that new guy Audric Estime. I heard they're pretty high on him, and after looking over the footage, I kind of like his game tape too. But he is really slow.
Big strong guy. He's very slow. Big strong guy though.
Yeah,
and Jaleel McLaughlin as well.
Yeah, that's what and isn't Samaje?
There's someone else too. Pirine, yeah,
Pirine, yeah. So there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen. I don't know what the Broncos' offense is going to look like this year. I'm just not going out of my way to touch Javonte Williams.
I'm with you, brother. I'm like hands off Javonte unless he fell to me at like a really late spot. I just don't think he's all that good. I don't know. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. I don't know if he's that good. And yeah, I'm kind of staying away from that situation, I think, this year, personally.
Yeah. When I look back on my rankings, this is kind of a guy that I wish I would have faded more.
Me too.
When I look back on these rankings, and I might even just redo them for myself. I might even redo my rankings.
I mean, these are fluid. You could redo them at any time.
I'm gonna redo my rankings because I kind of look at it and I'm like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I'd want Javonte with all the guys that he's working against. I mean, Samaje Perine is he's number 1 in rushing yards in a single game in college football. I don't see Javonte Williams on that list. I don't.
Relevant, yeah.
Yeah. I think Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams are closer together in skill than we like to admit.
Oh, yikes. What a diss. that was kind of mean.
But I don't know. I just think about it. It's like you would think because of his name, and like he has had some good plays, but I don't know if you could really like count on him getting. I'm serious. Like he had a name in fantasy football for a couple years. Like he was a hot commodity.
Javonte Williams just sounds like a good running back name, dude. I was like, he has the name for it, dude. Audric Estime also has a really good running back name.
That being said, I would definitely probably take him in the later rounds. Like if he fell into like the 12th round, like Kai was saying earlier.
Let's go ahead and agree to this. Like until at least we have like a place where we're putting our rankings up where people can go look at them. Like if you do have like a drastic change in your rankings, so let's say you drop Javonte Williams down like 10 spots, just bring it up on the podcast next week. Just find a way to just write a note to yourself and make it known that I've been thinking about it. And actually, I really like Jalen Warren and I moved him up so and so spots, or I really like so and so. So yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do that. That way, at least we can like kind of keep in touch with each other's rankings too, and like kind of figure out how it goes. Next up, Jonathan Brooks, number 34. The more I've been thinking about like some of these rookies too, I think the more I'm going to move them up a little bit too. Jonathan Brooks is 36 for me, 37 for Kai, 31 for Dylan. He's 34 overall. I guess we'll start with Dylan since he likes him the most. Why do you like Jonathan Brooks?
Kind of the opposite reason why I hate a lot of these last couple running backs we've been talking about is in Carolina, he doesn't have a ton of competition for carries.
Maybe. I don't know. There's some names there.
Chuba Hubbard,
Miles Sanders. I mean, they're guys that they're going to get touches. I mean, they're paying Miles Sanders a lot of money. They're not going to just leave him on the bench. He will get work. And Chuba was decent last year. What?
Miles Sanders got left on the bench last year.
He still got work though.
Yeah, but
him and Chuba were splitting carries.
Yeah. Well, I think Jonathan Brooks comes in, like he has high draft capital. They're obviously going to use him. So he's going to get mixed in. And I think by the end of the year, the running back on the Panthers you want to own on your team and be hopefully starting as Jonathan Brooks. And this is a very low end. And I'm only ranking him this low because he does have other running backs in his running back room, but he's going to outlast those guys.
Yeah.
Chuba was like pretty solid at the end of the year. At least fantasy wise. That's the only reason I don't have him higher currently right now is that even though I don't like Miles Sanders, I do think he's going to get some work. He did get work up until like the last 4 weeks of the year last year. And then they started going, you know what, this guy kind of sucks. Maybe we should just give all the carries to Chuba Hubbard. And they were correct. They were correct in that theory that Chuba Hubbard is a better running back. I actually kind of like Chuba personally. I don't think he's ever going to make a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but I do think Chuba's good enough to get work in the NFL for the next several years. So I think if Miles Sanders doesn't eat in, I do think Chuba Hubbard at least is going to eat into Jonathan Brooks' work. In theory, I think Brooks is probably the most talented person there. So if that talent does break through, he should be the best running back to own out of these three at the end of the year, and probably, but easily the one you should take a chance on the most. But I do think Chuba and Miles Sanders are going to get work, which is why I have him a little bit lower. Kai, how do you feel about Jonathan Brooks?
So this is another one of those guys for me where, like, if I were to redo my rankings, I'd probably put him a little bit higher here just because I do believe in the talent here. He's easily better than both Chuba and Miles Sanders. I mean, in college before the ACL injury, he was on pace for a monster season in college. But, of course, also coming off the ACL tear, too, that's going to make some people maybe a little bit hesitant to draft him. But I think if you could get him like in the later rounds, I'd probably take a chance on him.
Oh yeah.
Do we have a breaking news drop anymore?
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
For the third time this month, Darren Waller is retiring. That's it. That's the breaking news. He still hasn't told the Giants, so we're going to get this notification again in about a week when Adam Schefter is bored. But Darren Waller is retiring again. So
Riveting.
Nice.
yeah. Next up, Trey Benson, number 35. This is kind of like the same situation with Jonathan Brooks. I just think James Conner still has some stuff left in the tank. So otherwise, I think Trey Benson would be higher. I've watched some tape. I've watched more Trey Benson tape than I've watched Jonathan Brooks tape. So my opinion is still a little muddied about Brooks. I think Benson's a really good player. I think he is going to take over the Cardinals' backfield next year. I think James Conner's still good enough that he's going to get a lot of work this year. Personally, I don't know how you guys feel about that. But yeah, I think Trey Benson, dynasty wise, is probably the running back to own of the rookies. I don't know, but I don't know about this year specifically. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, pretty much everything you said. Yeah, I like the talent a lot, but James Conner is good enough to keep him off the field more than we want to see. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think James Conner is still really good. I mean, I have James Conner ranked number 20 on this list.
Mm-hmm.
So Trey Benson is almost like fringe unranked for me.
That's fair.
Because I think that James Conner's going to, barring injury or anything, I think James Conner's going to get a bunch of this work because he has continuity in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He knows the playbook. He knows the players. He knows the schemes. He's a 3-down back. Like, you don't just come and take those guys' jobs. They kind of got to give them away.
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening to James Conner this year.
Fair enough. 36, Ezekiel Elliott. I did not rank Ezekiel Elliott in my top 40. I'm going to say that right now. Kai has him at 32. Dylan has him at 36.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how much work he's actually going to get. Mike McCarthy came out this week and said that they're probably going to use 2 or 3 running backs consistently in the offense. I think Rico Dowdle potentially could break out in that offense over Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke had some like bright spots last season. Overall, though, you could tell he's not the same running back as he used to be.
Yeah.
Another year removed from that, I think maybe he might get another year older, look a little slower, look a little worse. I don't know. Last round, draft Zeke, sure, go ahead. I don't know. I kind of expect him to be like the RB2 on that offense, and I'm not sure that's going to be good enough to be like draftable. I drafted Zeke last year, and he didn't really pan out until the very end of the year, and that was when Ramondre Stevenson got hurt.
I mean, I could see this going both ways. I could see him being phased out of the offense, you know what I mean? Or like someone else breaking out over him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see Zeke disappearing on this offense. And I think the boys getting back together will be good for his soul. And maybe he has a slight resurgence for the Cowboys. Yeah, dude, maybe he has a slight resurgence for the team. I
can see that.
I could see that happening more often than not.
Would it shock me if Zeke had a good season next year? No, it wouldn't shock me. I just don't like the likelihood of it personally. He is wearing number 15 as college number, so it's like a new era, even though he's going back to his old team.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun season.
That's cool. Yeah. Kai, what do you think about Zeke?
I like the landing spot a lot. I like getting back with Dallas, kind of like what Dylan was saying. I could definitely see like a resurgence here for him. Like mentally, he's going to be like, I'm home with the team where I did the best in my career. He still has a lot of PPR value too. I mean, 51 receptions for how old he is and what we think of him last season. That's amazing. I mean, I could see him getting most of the pass catching work in Dallas this season too.
I mean, most of those receptions came in the last like month and a half of the season. Granted, that was when he got a lot of work. So yeah, true. His yards per carry though, dog shit. I know on the PowerPoint it says 3.4, but it was like made up for because he had a lot of bad games and he had a few like really good games. So like he had 2 yards per carry, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times last year. 8 times last year he had 2 yards per carry in a game. So I don't know. The Cowboys offense is going to be better than the Patriots offense.
I mean, for an undrafted guy, like last round guy, like this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's true. it's worth taking a chance on if it's like a last round pick for sure. I don't know. I have my doubts about Zeke personally. Next up, Gus Edwards. 34 for me, 35 for Kai. Not ranked by Dylan. It's 37 overall. Somebody's got to carry the ball there, right? It's either going to be Gus or J.K. Dobbins. So I guess it's just who do you like more? I just don't trust Dobbins injury wise. Like his agent and like Adam Schefter have been going on. The J.K. Dobbins looks amazing, best he's ever looked. Train that we get every single year, depending on the player. And I just don't know if I buy that personally. And I do buy Gus Edwards being good. I think Gus Edwards is good. I think Jim Harbaugh is a really good coach. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to run the ball a lot this year. And I don't think the Chargers are going to be that good. I think like a fringe playoff team. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of pressure here. So I think that they will feel perfectly fine using like a mid-ish quarter or running back. I mean, like Gus Edwards isn't like a Pro Bowl caliber player, but he is a good enough player to be a starting running back for like a season or two, I think. So if you want to say that you think J.K. Dobbins comes in and takes over the workload, sure, I won't argue that. You never know. He might. But I personally like Gus Edwards more, and I do think the Chargers are going to run the ball. So that's how I have Gus Edwards at 34. It wouldn't shock me if he wasn't very good. It wouldn't shock me if he went way higher than 34 at the end of the year too and was like a top 20 running back. So, Kai, how do you feel about Gus Edwards?
Yeah, pretty much everything you said. He's in a run-heavy philosophy with a good coach. He's a starting running back in this league, so it's at least good enough to get him onto the list. And for his ADP, it's not bad. I take him in the 13th round. Why not?
Yeah, I think when it comes to like running backs in that backfield, he's definitely the biggest bruising running back there is, right?
Yeah.
But they did draft a running back.
Vidal.
Yeah, and I think if J.K. Dobbins comes in and he has any kind of role, which I don't think he will necessarily, but you have to maybe think that he is healthy for some portion of the season. They still have some other running backs on that team as well. And I don't believe it's just going to be a give Gus Edwards the ball. He gets it 250 times this year. It's not going to be that. I don't think it'll be that at all. I think the Chargers will probably more have like a revolving door, like a 3 to 4 headed attack through running backs this year, just based off their play style. So who's going to be on the field for pass downs, Gus Edwards? No, dude. He's not.
But he will be there on the goal line.
Yeah, we don't know.
I mean, if you look at the other names, though, there's Gus Edwards, there's J.K. Dobbins, who's coming off several horrible injuries. There's Vidal, who was a 6th round pick, which doesn't really matter with running backs. You can get usable people late in it's like 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, but he's still a 6th round pick. Isaiah Spiller, who was picked, I believe, like in the 4th round the year he was drafted, but not by this coaching staff. He also was really bad for the coaching staff that drafted him. And these other guys like Dotson and Patterson and Mason, they're just whatever. Like they're not going to make the roster or anything like that. So I don't know. I think there's a very clear pathway for Gus Edwards to get a lot of carries this year. Mm-hmm. You're right. He probably won't be on the field for like receiving work and stuff like that, but I don't know who would be. So maybe he will. I don't know. It's kind of like a wait and see for all of these guys, Dobbins, Vidal, Spiller. I just don't even know, honestly. A lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks. And, 13 touchdowns. Do we think he'll emulate 13 touchdowns again?
I do. I think he might get more.
Okay. All right, dude.
I'm a Gus guy, though. I'm a Gus bus guy. I always have been. Next up, Jerome Ford. I did not rank him. Kai has him at 33. Dylan has him at 39. I didn't rank him because I just don't know what to do with the Browns backfield. I think Chubb is probably toast, as painful as that is for me to admit. I like Nick Chubb a lot. He's one of my favorite football players of this generation. But that injury was so bad. I just don't expect him to come back and be the same player. With that being said, I think if he does come back, he is going to get work. He's going to be on the field at some points, unless he's just so bad that they just cannot play him because it's detrimental to the team. I think Nick Chubb will be on the field. And Jerome Ford really wasn't that good last year. He was a very mid running back. So now if he's splitting, yes, he was. But if you look at the stats, it really wasn't all that impressive.
Yeah, buoyed by a lot of like long touchdown runs. I remember that, but he's got a lot of pass catching value though too. I mean, the Browns. That's fair. Browns don't really have anyone in that running back room that could catch balls out of the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you his fantasy points week 6 on 11, 17, 4, 12, 11, 11, 11, 14, 13, 7, 9, 26, 5. So it's like
That's
he had a couple.
RB2.
He had a couple nice games, but a lot of just like 11s. There's actually 3 straight weeks where he scored exactly 11.9 points. All 3 weeks. 11.9, 11.9, 11.9, all 3 weeks.
I'll take that as an RB2 during certain stretches of my year.
I wouldn't. I want more than that personally. I want more than 11 points. So I sure he could be like a running back 3, running back 4, but if he's splitting time with Nick Chubb too, I just don't know if I want anything to do with this backfield. So would it shock me if Jerome Ford was better? No. I don't know. It just makes me a little nervous, that whole situation. I don't know which one I would rather have, because Nick Chubb probably has more potential, but he's also way more risky than Jerome Ford.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck just picking whichever one is going to be better than the other one. I honestly don't know. So Kai, how do you feel about Jerome Ford?
Oh, I mean, I was already talking about it. Just the PPR value, and now with this recent news about Nick Chubb probably not coming back for, I'm gonna say like half the year. I mean, this is Jerome Ford's backfield. I mean, all he has back there is Deonta Foreman, and Deonta Foreman might be nearing the end of the line.
Dr. Kai, dude. Nick Chubb's coming back about halfway through the season. You heard it here first.
It's
Dr.
true.
Kai. Yep. Dylan?
I like Jerome Ford. I think if Nick Chubb comes back, he's still rosterable, both of them, I think. But if Nick Chubb doesn't come back for at least half the season, that's Jerome Ford's backfield. And I mean, if you're getting, let's just say another year in that, in that offense, if you're getting a couple good games and a bunch of like 11 to 13 point games, and you can get him in the 4th round, he could easily be flex consideration
14th.
on your team. 14th round. So if you can get him before that, maybe even after that, who knows? But if you can get Jerome Ford late in your draft, he's definitely starter worthy, like on your roster if Nick Chubb is out.
I will say this: if Nick Chubb does miss half the season, he will go up in my rankings, 100%. I just need to know. I need to get close to the season. I need to know what the outlook realistically is on Nick Chubb. If he's going to be out until like week 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, absolutely. Jerome Ford will skyrocket in my rankings. He'll go up into the 20s probably. But for now, I don't know. If Nick Chubb's back week 1, I don't want anything to do with either one of them. So
fair enough.
Yeah. Next up, Rico Dowdle, number 39. 37 for me, 38 for Kai, not ranked for Dylan. I just want to say, I'm going to start off because I don't have Zeke ranked and I do have Rico Dowdle ranked. Zeke would be like 41 for me. So he's like just off my list. So it's not like I like Rico Dowdle so much more than Zeke. I'm just giving Dowdle the edge because he's young. He's a younger running back. Zeke is getting old. I don't know. Looking back, Rico Dowdle's stats are not very good at all. But I feel like when I'd watch him run, I'm like, oh, this guy kind of has like a little bit of juice to him. I don't know. So I think with more carries, Dowdle could pay off a little bit better for you. I don't know if I'd want to draft either one of them personally, but I don't know. If I had to choose one of them, I'm going Dowdle.
Yeah,
Kai?
It was just a really, really small sample size last season.
Yeah.
It's like I was very confused on how to rank this guy too, but I was like, just because I think that there is a chance that he could be like the starting running back in Dallas just because of his age, that garnered him a spot on the list essentially for me.
Dylan,
So,
you don't like Rico?
Just like you said, like where you would rank Zeke like number 41, I would have Rico Dowdle number 41.
Gotcha.
And and another guy that I have ranked higher, but is not. I'm not going to talk about this guy very much. But I have Chase Brown ranked number 35, and he's unranked on this list. So
Yeah,
that's just how these rankings work. So, Rico Dowdle, I could see him and Zeke both being, a low end RB3s and 4s this year. If they really are going to use, 2, 3 running backs, 4 running backs all year, like I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do, but that just means that none of these guys are going to be rosterable at the end of the year.
Yeah.
If they all play. So I'm not really excited by a guy who, is just a 4 yards per carry kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like he has Devontae Chain numbers to where it's like he has like 6.5 yards per carry and 5 touchdowns. You know, he didn't.
To be fair, 4 is good though. 4 is pretty solid.
Yeah. I just don't see where he fits in the offense next year, especially since everybody knows the Cowboys are going to throw the ball a lot.
Fair enough. Last but not least, number 40 on our list, Blake Corum. 39 for me, 40 for Kai, 38 for Dylan. I don't think he would be ranked for me if Kyron's foot was not, I don't want to say injured because I think he's going to be perfectly fine once the season starts, but having a foot injury for a running back, it just makes me a little nervous. So that's why I think Blake Corum is definitely worth, even if you don't have Kyron Williams, like he's not a handcuff situation. I think Blake Corum is worth taking a chance, like in the last couple of picks, and just in case that Kyron foot issue lingers just a little bit. Because Blake Corum and the Rams offense having like the most of the carries, he could be very, very good. So it's kind of like a sit there, stash him. Now, if you sit there and stash him for like a month and Kyron Williams looks like Kyron again and the foot's obviously not an issue, whatever. Just, either trade him to the Kyron owner or cut him for someone else. But I think he is worth stashing and just watching Kyron Williams and seeing what happens. That's why I have him ranked at 39. Dylan, how do you feel about him?
I have him ranked at this position regardless if Kyron is healthy or not.
Okay.
I believe that, like we've been saying, is that Kyron Williams can't keep getting 95% snap counts. I think they probably do want to cut that down into the 70s, you don't want Kyron Williams to wear himself out for when you make the playoffs. You want Kyron Williams to have gas left in the tank. You don't want Blake Corum. You don't want to run into a situation where you got Blake Corum, going into the playoffs. He's fucking, even though he's got experience in the playoffs in college and stuff, but I could definitely see Blake Corum getting like 100, 125 carries this year just to lighten the load. Neither one of them are like spectacular in the pass game, so they're kind of eating into each other's main role. So however much Kyron's going to be brought down, it's going to be by Blake Corum.
Hi.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's going to be here for me whether or not Kyron has issues with his foot. I mean, I think Blake Corum, the talent on him is just absolutely amazing. I mean, I honestly think there is an avenue of possibility that he could be the best rookie running back this year just based on talent alone. Came from a very, very good school in Michigan. 27 touchdowns last year in college is insane. I mean, I know they have a really good O-line, but still, though, like this guy knows how to get to the end zone. He runs extremely hard. I love the way he runs. His play style is insane. He's just grind and get the yards, fight for the yardage, break the tackles.
Yeah.
And I think with Kyron Williams' workload being decreased by a little bit, I think Blake Corum, the chances that he will have, the limited chances that he gets, I think he's going to really show what he's made of and earn himself some more playing time as the year goes on.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well said. That's it for the running back rankings. Next week, we're going to do what? Receivers, right? You guys want to do receivers?
Yep.
I think that makes sense. Okay, so we'll start off 1 through 20 wide receivers next week. Look out for that. Of course, we'll have our normal NFL news and notes, of course. So that's a wrap for episode 87. As always, you can find us everywhere at Raging Takes on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Yeah. I should really write all these social media accounts down. I haven't messed it up that badly yet, though. You can email us ragingtakes@gmail.com. I'm at Montana Sauce on Twitter. Kai is at RTP Kai. Dylan is at Such a Wise Fool. We'll see you next week.